In our study, we aim to identify sex differences in the prevalence and risk factors for orthostatic hypertension. There have been controversies about how often older men and women are affected by orthostatic hypertension, which is an excessive lowering in the blood pressure after a person changes from supine to standing position. We found that older men and women have differences in the risk factors for orthostatic hypertension. Our results showed that high systolic blood pressure was an independent risk factor for orthostatic hypertension in women, but not in men. We found that body mass index was associated with lower risk of orthostatic hypertension in both sexes. Within the methods we used for our study, we used a subset of 882 subjects from the Maracaibo Aging Study, which is a longitudinal population-based study from Latin America. We also used the most accepted diagnostic definition for orthostatic hypertension, which is a lowering of more than 20 millimeters of mercury for the systolic blood pressure or more than 10 millimeters of mercury for the diastolic blood pressure, sustained both at the first and 3 minutes after changing from supine to standing position. To study if sex had a significant effect on the association between risk factors and orthostatic hypertension, we performed interaction term analysis using multivariate logistic regression models and accounting for the different characteristics between men and women. From this study, we learned that orthostatic hypertension is very frequent, both in older men and women. The prevalence of OH was generally constant and similar between the younger group, but increased significantly with age in men and decreased in women older than 75 years. We also learned that as people age, there seemed to be a relative importance of risk factors that are different from men than in women. Future studies need to address not only the mechanisms and treatments for orthostatic hypertension in elderly, but they also need to consider sex, which might also be important to guide preventive measures.